Hey everybody, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth as we get ready to recap Week 6, and it's pretty much the entire SEC conference because, look, honestly, it's probably the best conference out there, not even close. We'll talk about that. Ralph's going to be joining me. If you're listening on the radio, appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. Let's go ahead and start it. Ralph, hit the button.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
All right, everybody. What's up, party people? Bryce Koon and Ralph Leary as we come to you on a Monday morning. Happy Columbus Day. Ralph, you don't get that off. I got Columbus Day off, so it's like, hey, here we go. First off, we just need to say this. I don't know when we have ever gotten Columbus Day off. I guess the kids get fall break now. We used to get fall break, but it falls on a decent time. So,
we went to a school that wasn't in they didn't need to take the Muskogee County days off, so they had their own days off. We had like our original half day every once in a while, but it was mostly half days, and we had the regular main holidays. The Columbus Day wasn't really, Columbus Day wasn't really our big holiday, I guess.
I don't even remember, I didn't even know it was a day, honestly. But anyways, let's talk about this. So we're doing a Week 6 recap, as we will do every single Monday morning. And look, Ralph, we're not biased towards the SEC. We might be a little bit.
We live in the areas.
We live in the SEC country, but the thing is that's where the best games were this past weekend. And the casuals that try to tell you that there's a down week in college football, they're liars. This sport, I texted you last night. You and I were texting back and forth during the end of the Alabama A&M game. This sport's unreal. It is amazing because everything that you think you know, and even us on the show, we just need to throw right out the window because it's quite amazing. So we need to talk about it here. So it's let's roll, Ralph. Let's talk about the Vols dominating LSU in Death Valley. We're going to get kind of some quick hitters through some of the games. Ralph, I'll kind of start this off. I got to watch a little bit of this one, went back and watched the highlights. My synopsis real quick, and then I'll let you, maybe we can talk and go back and forth on this. Tennessee's offense is unbelievable. They are going to really, really provide a challenge. I think, Ralph, I might have seen them open up as a 9.5-point favorite against Alabama, which is interesting. If Bryce Young does not play, that's going to be fun. We'll talk about that, obviously, later in the week. Tennessee's offense is for real. LSU's offense is abysmal. It's bad. Now, Jaden Daniels threw for over 300 yards in this game, Ralph, but it doesn't feel like it. They are dead last coming into this past weekend in I should say explosive plays. Like he does not throw the ball vertical down the field. You're relying on guys like Kayshon Boutte, who's a talented player, but Malik Neighbors to be able to get out in space and do that. They're great at doing that, but you got to give them the football. So kind of want to get your quick synopsis. A drubbing, Ralph. Tennessee goes into another place. We have not seen Vol Nation take over a stadium like that in a while. Rocky Top was ringing down in Death Valley.
Yeah, man, I saw some videos of them singing Rocky Top in the game and just being extremely loud and showing their presence in a hostile environment. LSU is one of the most famous hostile environments in the country. We call it Death Valley, and people will say Clemson's Death Valley, but we all know who really Death Valley is because I think LSU has always been Death Valley, in my opinion. But Tennessee fans they're loving this. They've been waiting this for a rebound year for a long time, and they finally get to have this season so far, and it's been extremely fun for them. Wins against Kentucky at home, and having game day there was awesome for them. So, them to go on the road and beat LSU and have that win over LSU is huge for them. And their offense showed up huge, and I think the defense played a lot better. They gave it 3 yards passing, but 13 points. If you give up 450 plus pass yards to somebody, but you still win by 27 or however much. A win's a win. Your defense held them to 13 points on the road. That's incredible. Yeah. Yeah.
I think too. Kind of going. The weakness of Tennessee coming in this game was the defense. It was kind of the secondary, and LSU couldn't take advantage of it. And I keep saying this, and when we kind of preview Tennessee and Georgia, this will be a talking point. And even this week, if you start out slow, which LSU did against this team, Ralph, it's gonna be an uphill climb for the entire game because offensively they move the ball that well. Let's talk about this real quick because we're gonna quickly move through these games. Brian Kelly obviously has a rebuild job down in Baton Rouge. They really didn't recruit well. They've got some talented individuals they still have to bring. And look, they're going to have back-to-back top 10 classes. It's great. But Ralph, a pivotal moment for me, I was listening to the game on my way to Macon, and Brian Kelly on about the 15, 20-yard line of Tennessee. They've got it in territory. They're down 10-0. He goes for it. He went for it multiple times on fourth down where you could have taken a field goal and made it feel a little more manageable. After that, Tennessee just kind of blew you out of the water. Do you love the hate for Brian Kelly right now? Or I would encourage LSU fans pump the brakes because while LSU, the brand, is like one of the best in college football, this team right now is not one of the more talented teams in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, there's no hate for Brian Kelly right now. It's too early in his career or too early for his tenure here.
Yeah.
He hasn't been here in more than 9 months. I mean, he has to be bringing a transfer quarterback in. You don't really have a backup quarterback to go to right now, and that you trust. And you're playing a tough schedule. I mean, you went to play a neutral site game against Florida State, which was one of the best games we saw all week in week one, and Monday Night Football was what it was, and then you're playing
Sunday night because my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets played on Monday night.
My bad.
Yes,
I had it flipped. But but Brian Kelly, he's going to do fine. He's going to out recruit a lot of people. He's going to try to win the state of Louisiana. I think that's been his number one thing is trying to win his own state in recruiting. He hasn't done. LSU's been getting beat by Alabama and Florida sometimes, and even Georgia and some of Texas. Look, Arch Manning's going to Texas. I mean, that you lost the number one recruit in your state, but he's gonna do fine there. And I think it's just you got to give him time. You can't expect some of these coaches to leave their top 25 program and come over and be the same thing they were there. You have to rebuild sometimes, and you can say about another school we're talking about later on. You got to let them rebuild, but if the rebuild process is not going the way you expect to, you have to make a change. But I think LSU's going to be fine. Brian Kelly's going to be fine.
Yeah, look, Brian Kelly, whether SEC fans want him or not, he's a good coach. He did a lot where he was limited at Notre Dame due to academic standards and some of the other things, and really financially where Notre Dame was not willing to go and where other schools were willing to go. So I think that, at LSU, a place where they're not afraid to spend money, he's going to have success there. But like you said, we're a little too early to kind of freak out on that. We're going to go to the next afternoon game of the day on Saturday. And look, not Kirby's Dogs, Leach's Dogs. Man, they knock off the Hogs. Look, I said in previous weeks where I think Sam Pittman and Arkansas, they have a good thing going. It's a gauntlet, though. It's a gauntlet. And the second you stumble, it's hard to stop stumbling. We found that out of Arkansas. But, man, Ralph, I'm telling you, and it's funny because LSU beat Mississippi State earlier in the year after getting down early in that game. But Mike Leach is the kind of guy, when he gets his players in there and runs the air raid, how he runs it, it's hard to stop. And Will Rogers has shown that he's more than capable of that, where Mississippi State now might find themselves in the top 15, top 20 at least in next week's AP poll and today's AP poll that comes out. I think that this is a game where you say, look, Mississippi State's impressive, and who knows what can happen. And truthfully, Ralph, they might be the number 2 team in the SEC West right now. They're going to battle with Ole Miss. That Egg Bowl is going to be fun. It always is, but it's really going to be fun this year. Kind of tell me, what are you thinking about Mike Leach and Mississippi State after that performance against Arkansas?
Well, he ran the ball more than I expected him to. He had 37 carries on the ground. I mean, that's more than I think he does in a year. And like last year, I think they ran maybe 6 times a game. And him to start kind of spread it out a little bit more and trust his running backs who are really talented. It shows that they're ready to. They're good, and their defense is playing great right now. I mean, I will say this: Arkansas was without KJ Jefferson,
and that hurts. Yeah, and
then people will say, "Well, that's just an excuse." It's not an excuse when you're starting quarterback for the past 3 years goes down, you tend to lose a lot. And we saw that with another game later on we'll talk about too. I don't think Arkansas is a bad team, like you said. It's a gauntlet for them. They play a tough schedule year in, year out. They play in the SEC West. You get beat up by everybody, no matter who it is. I mean, Auburn's going to play you hard anyway. You got to play them at Auburn. You're going to face it. It's an SEC opponent, man. No matter who they are, you get beat up. I mean, Ole Miss almost got beat by Vanderbilt. We saw that. I mean, the SEC is a gauntlet, like you said. And I love how Mississippi State's handling this because they have a tough schedule too. You
Yeah.
play a lot. You play the SEC West. I mean, you face some of the best. You got to face Georgia this year. I mean, that's going to be a very incredible
Ooh,
game. 'Cause
fun game.
If Mississippi State's defense steps up to the plate, we might be seeing an upset that weekend. Because
it really tests Georgia's defense, especially that young secondary.
yeah, especially a young secondary with a very experienced quarterback who I think has one of the best arms in college football, and possibly going to be a next year quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he has a great arm. He is one of the best offensive minds as his coach and his coordinator is basically just helping him learn the game of football. And I think Mike Leach is awesome. You watch some of his interviews; he's weird. Extremely weird. You saw the coffee one. He hates coffee.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. It's for the effect, not for the journey, he said.
Right.
It's for the effects of it.
And
so
they're going to be a team that is going to be good for the next few years as long as he keeps recruiting the way he wants to. Finds him a quarterback who can throw it for 50 to 60 times a game with really good receivers and a decent offensive line. He's going to do good because everything else is going to fall into place for him.
1 2, Ralph, you and I know this, and we'll move on from this and talk a little bit about the next game and go into a commercial break. But I think that with Mississippi State, the expectations, it's not to go win a national championship.
Right.
It's really to sit around 7 to 9 wins. If you can get to 9 wins in Mississippi State, that's awesome. Dan Mullen set that bar when they went to the Orange Bowl. And who'd they lose to, Ralph? The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The best option quarterback ever. I'll tell you that right there. Anyways, but no, I mean, look, Mississippi State, the expectations are not what they are at Auburn. I mean, even at Alabama, at LSU, at Texas A&M. So I think Mike Leach is a perfect fit for Mississippi State. And like you said, when Will Rogers decides either to go to the NFL or time to move on from his career, it's all about, can you get the right quarterback? Can you find the right quarterback to run that system, whether it's the JUCO level? And then going over to Arkansas, I mean, losing KJ Jefferson hurts. Obvious in this game, but Ralph, I don't know if it makes up a deficit of 40-17 like we saw. Dylan Johnson, 17 carries, 100 yards for Mississippi State. Jaquavius Marks had 16 carries for 52 yards and 11 catches out of the backfield for another 80 yards. Mississippi State's dangerous, a dangerous team. I really like what they had to do. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking Deep South's oldest rivalry.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
Back here on the crowded booth, Bryce Koon and Ralph Leary with you. We appreciate if you're listening on radio, podcast form, or if you are on the YouTube. In the famous words of Chico Lynch, the Google or the YouTube. Ralph loved that one right there. Hey, look, make sure we talk about this one because I don't want to talk much about the game. Here's the synopsis of the game. Georgia overcame a slow start to run past Auburn. Literally what happened. We saw Branson Robinson featured a lot in this game. Dejon Edwards, our boy down in Moultrie, Trent Griner, Colquitt County kid. I mean, very good. So this is the thing, Ralph. We'll take this real quick. I'm not even going to let you talk about this because you already kind of said you didn't really feel like it. Georgia.
I have just 2 things. That's it.
Sloppy game in the first half. Georgia overcame that sloppiness in the second half. My synopsis from Auburn is their defense is not terrible, but the offense is so anemic. And I'm not trying to offend the people that suffer from anemia. I'm just saying the offense is so anemic, Ralph, and they can't do anything. They do not help that defense out. And the defense kept it close, 14-0 at halftime, but after that, they could not. It felt like the water had built up so much against the dam before the dam finally broke, and they just couldn't do anything else. Real quickly, give me your 2 things, because I want to go into another section of this that I think is really kind of more important about this game.
I think you hit on one of them. It was just the defense is not bad. I don't think they are. I think they get exhausted because they're on the field the whole entire game. Mm-hmm. Auburn's relying too much on Ashford to do everything, and I don't think he's able to do that at this point with no offensive line help, no receivers really around who can do anything. He got Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter, but they're getting hit as soon as they get to hand the ball to him. It's no help for him at all. So I think you're relying on Ashford to be that stud athlete that we think he is, and what he can be. I know he can be. I mean, He's crazy athletic. We saw him against LSU in the first half. He played great. LSU made changes and they stopped him. Auburn is they just say they don't change anything. They keep doing the whole game. They can figure something out. And they're like, they did against LSU. They figured it out early on. They had them up 17-0. They did not score the rest of the game. Auburn does not change at halftime. They don't fix anything. They expect that if they're winning in the first half, it's going to work in the second half. That's not how it works in college football. It's not high school.
Especially the SEC, with all the talented head coaches you have and coordinators. Well,
not even that. Go further down. The analysts are just reading every play. They're looking at, okay, maybe if they come in this formation, they're going to run the ball more to the right side. We'll just blitz the right side, or blitz to our left side, and we'll stop them. It's so simple. Just to make a few changes at halftime, I mean, you might keep it closer games. I mean, I'm not saying you're beating Georgia, but you may make it, 28-14 maybe, or 28-17. But I'm not saying you're going to beat anybody, but you're making it closer, and it makes it look a little bit better than 42-10.
Yeah. I'll add this to it. It's so uncharacteristic and weird for me to see an Auburn team that can't really run the football. 93 yards on the ground in this game. Ralph, I mean, look, you talked to a couple Auburn fans, obviously where we are here in Columbus, there's a ton of them. It's, this is a rivalry that has meant so much, and for the sixth straight time, Georgia to win this game, Ralph, I kind of hate it. Like, I didn't love that I get why they moved the game earlier in the season, but there's just something about Georgia and Auburn in November. It's always, it felt like it was always a really, really big game. We're going to do an episode just based on this later on in the week. Ralph, it's kind of sad to see kind of how this rivalry is kind of falling, because watching the game, it just didn't feel like it had the same juice anymore that it has, our entire, young adulthood and childhood. We've watched this game.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, you know me, I grew up an Auburn fan. I went to most of these games. I was unlucky not to be there for the kick six, as I wanted to be though. Or not, I'm sorry, the prayer at Hare. But I know how Georgia fans feel about that. It's sad to see how far Auburn's fallen from their reign of having a great defense and a great running game, and now it's just like you said, it's sad. I want to watch this game where it's like a 3:30 kickoff every Saturday in November, and then and I look at the score, maybe it's like 10-17, and Auburn's got driving down to the 3-yard line, and Tank Bigsby has like over 140 yards rushing. That's what you want to see because that's who they are. That's who they can be. Yeah. But they have nothing to push them forward. And I think, and I'm just going to say it because I believe it's true, I think what's happening right now is they're just buying time until Harson's fired. He's gone after the season, guaranteed. New AD coming in.
You want us to get you a button like Charles Barkley? Guaranteed, so you can hit it?
I'm guaranteeing he's gone this season. He might be gone. We talk about, Lane Kiffin got tarmacked. Herm Edwards got end zoned. I think Brian Harsin gets half-timed.
What did Jeff Collins get?
Jeff Collins got
escorted.
Oh, yeah, escorted. Good job. That was a good one.
There we go.
I think Brian Harsin gets half-timed. I think halftime. I think one game, and I believe it's been the Western Kentucky game. If they're getting beat at halftime, he's not coming back out.
Go West Paul. Go West Paul. Hey, let's talk about this, Ralph, really quickly, because Beamer ball beats the Cats. Now, look, the best thing I saw from this game, I hadn't even watched the highlights. All I saw is Shane Beamer clowning Mark Stoops in the locker room. Ralph, we don't need to spend a ton of time on this game, but we did an episode before the season started. And what did I say? I said South Carolina could surprise some people in the SEC. Ralph, they're 4-2 on the year. Spencer Rattler has been a bust up until this point, just in his college career. But he played well. And South Carolina found a way to win on the road at Kentucky. And look, I mean, I don't think this is a team that needs, 2 more wins to go to a bowl game. I mean,
they still have Missouri and Vanderbilt to play.
Okay, and so there's Florida. Your 2 wins. There's your 2 wins, and beat Florida. There's maybe 3 wins. I mean, look, I was impressed with this, Ralph. Let's just touch on this for maybe a minute or so. South Carolina, I love Shane Beamer. Like, I love the attitude that he brings to that program because you know what? I'm not comparing him, but the swagger and kind of the, let's just say it, the kind of a little bit of a FU attitude that Steve Spurrier brought to South Carolina, it feels like it's kind of coming back. With Shane Beamer's like, you know what? I don't care. We're going to do whatever the heck we want, and we're going to play Beamer ball. We're just going to have fun, and we're going to put some funky sunglasses on, and we're going to dance around. I like this win, but I'll ask you, what does it say about Kentucky? Obviously, Kentucky didn't have Will Levis in this game. Probably would have flipped the script a little bit, but I still think this Kentucky team with Will Levis is dangerous to the rest of the SEC East. When they play Georgia, when they play Kentucky, or when they play Tennessee, and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm looking at the schedule for South Carolina, and I may see an upset win for them in the future. Not next week, the week after they play A&M at home.
Ooh.
And A&M coming off, a really good game against Alabama. But I really like what South Carolina's doing right now. They're playing great. The only losses are to Arkansas by 14 and Georgia.
On the road. Yeah, on the road.
And Georgia was incredible that game. I mean, it's just it's a famous quote. Do you think you're going to beat Georgia? Hell no.
Yeah.
You love Shane Beamer, and I do too. I think he's great for that program. He's going to do great in the future. He's just his second year, right?
Yeah.
And he's already made a bowl game with year one, year two, probably made another bowl game, and they're consistently going to get better and better year in and out. And I feel like South Carolina will be back in the next 3 or 4 years where they're competing for an SEC East title, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But,
well, they're at least challenging Georgia for the number 2 spot, challenging Kentucky and Tennessee. I mean, they do have that type of potential under Shane Beamer. So we'll see. Hey, last game that we're going to cover and we're going to talk about here is one kind of Ralph alluded to. The Tide hold off the Aggies, and I should have put quotations because they literally held them. Ralph, we can spend a little bit more time on this, and we'll kind of wrap it up with we'll each pick a best performance of the week. We felt like maybe, and I'll even go outside the SEC for my best performance of the week. This game, Ralph, Jim, where do we start? If Bryce Young plays this game, what was the spread? 28 or something like crazy?
24.5, I think.
24.5. If Bryce Young plays this game, I think they get near that. This Alabama team's very flawed. Very flawed. Mm-hmm. Now, look, Jalen Milroe may be a great quarterback one day, and he's a great athlete. The kid's huge. Jahmyr Gibbs is probably the best player on that Alabama offense outside of a Bryce Young when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. This is a team in Alabama that's flawed. They've got a great defense. But A&M just hung around. I mean, Ralph, you look at the box score, and it didn't feel like it should have been this close. Alabama just couldn't convert. They just couldn't. They just couldn't finish drives offensively, and so it's just interesting to me. You and I watched this game. Not together. We were texting each other, and we were also – this is one thing for people listening or watching the show. Ralph always kills me because before we kind of moved out on our own, Ralph had cable, okay? Bryce did not have cable. Bryce watched these games on streaming, and so Ralph would always text. And so I text Ralph, I say, hey, I'm watching on YouTube TV. He goes, well, I am too. So we were both caught up. But Ralph, I mean, look, Texas A&M was a better play call away from really winning this game and upsetting Alabama and beating them 2 years in a row. Kind of what are your biggest takeaways from this?
Evan Stewart's going to be a problem in the SEC. That's a quote from my roommate, honestly. Yes, you're right. A&M's one good play call away from winning this game. I think the defense stepped up. We saw A&M's defense who we thought they can be. They played exceptionally well. They gave Milroe problems. He's not a true freshman. He's a freshman. He's first career start. Had him running around. Now, he's a great runner, 17 for 83 yards, no touchdowns. But when you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you don't need much help. Jahmyr Gibbs, 21 for 154. He was averaging almost 8 yards a carry. I mean, that's incredible. That's great. That's what you need. And I felt like A&M's offense was just not really doing much. They just couldn't. And Haynes King was, give it to him. He's still alive today. I'm impressed.
Man, dude. Yeah.
He's got to be on crutches or something. He has to be banged up. He got hit so many times on Saturday. I felt bad for him. I said because his offensive line is supposed to be really good, but they're just. You got Will Anderson, who's a madman. Will Anderson was.
Ralph, he was blowing up the left tackle and left guard the entire game, and especially these last couple of drives.
He has the best first step in football, and I'm saying that as not just for a defensive player, but in general. No one has a better first step than he does. He's in the backfield before a left tackle or right tackle can get to him. He's gonna make. He's a problem to offensive lines. He's a problem for running backs trying to block him. He's a problem, and I think that's where Alabama is reasonable to winning games because they have him. they don't have Will Anderson, I feel like games are a little more different because teams can safely block their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's simple. I know. It's like, if you block for them, they win the game. Well, yeah, but if you have a problem like if you have Will Anderson on the other side, you can't block them.
And two, you got a bunch of young kids. You also got Dallas Turner on the other side, who's no slouch. And so this Alabama, front seven is really, really good. Max Johnson didn't play in this game, obviously injured, but Haynes King played his butt off, and he showed a lot of guts in this game. And I just don't know where Texas A&M is because Jimbo Fisher, I think, has got to throw out this offense and do something new. He's got Josh Pate said this on a late kick the other day, Ralph. He's got 75 pieces of paper. He looks like he just pulled all the paper out of our lockers. Like you remember when you used to put just paper in your lockers or stuff in your book bag? It looks like Jimbo just takes all of that out and says we're going to call plays from 63 different pieces of paper. So they've got to be better. They could have scored. You could have called a pass interference on the last play of the game. I mean, the DB had his arm draped all over him. The two things that I'll say about this: Alabama will lose a regular season game. They are way too undisciplined. That secondary, I mean, look, Terry and Arnold got flagged a couple of times on that last drive for PI and defensive holding. They're talented, but look, you do that against Tennessee and you'll be down with the Vol Navy out there on the river going crazy. 112 million people in that stadium because that's what it feels like when it's that loud. Ralph, I can't wait to preview that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. But no, Alabama, I think they're going to lose a regular season game, and that might be the best thing that happened to them. It was last year. They responded well up into the national championship game. But, I think that Nick Saban, they got a lot of things to work on. This is one of the more undisciplined Alabama teams, and it's not fluky. Like, you remember the game last year when Alabama went down to Gainesville and almost lost to Florida down there. And they were like, oh, no, here we go. But it was like, okay, they kind of clean those things up. I don't know if they're going to clean these things up because this has been happening ever since the Texas game. And it's not saying that Texas is bad, but it's just saying that, it's going to be interesting. Hey, let's take a quick break, and I want to tell you about this. Listen, a fishing apparel for on and off the water. It's fantastic, rigged and ready. It's, based here out of Columbus and Middle Georgia as well. Use code CrowdedBooth10 for 10% off your order at riggedandreadyfishing.com. They got great hats, T-shirts. But this is the thing. It's not just for your avid fishermen. You can ask Ralph. I am not the most avid or talented fisherman whatsoever, and that's okay. You can get great stuff as well. And I got a nice little towel that, Ralph, is literally a boating towel, but I'm putting it on my my golf bag to use for that. So I hope that's okay. Hey, let's talk real quickly about this, Ralph. I want your honorable mentions from Week 6. Quickly, I'm going to go first. My best performance, Texas. Oklahoma's bad. Texas beat them 49-0, Ralph. It literally looked like the Oregon-Georgia game because Texas just dominated. They get their quarterback back in Quinn Ewers. Really impressed to see what this Texas team can do. That's my honorable mention from Week 6, the best performance. And I said I wasn't going to go with an SEC team. I just took a matchup of two future SEC opponents. Ralph, who are you going with? Who's your honorable mention, best performance of the week? Are you going with the Troy Trojans?
I'm not.
Are you staying in the Sun Belt?
No.
Well, we got to give a shout-out. Georgia State all blue, all in. All right, keep going. You're welcome, Jackson Gordy.
I'm going out west.
All right.
Way out west. Actually, not
Hawaii? The Philippines?
No. Sorry, here, further the other way. Sorry. UCLA.
6-0, baby.
6-0 with a big win over Utah. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, almost 300 yards of the air, 4 touchdowns. He had 5 total touchdowns yesterday.
You got to love it.
Chip Kelly's offense, man. Chip Kelly is back in college football, and people forget that he's one of the greatest college football coaches we've seen in a long time.
You got to love it. Ralph, any final thoughts? We got about 30 seconds here for the people. Should they subscribe to the channel?
Absolutely.
Absolutely subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit notifications.
You want one more?
Go ahead.
If Jalen Daniels doesn't get hurt, Kansas is 6-0.
I can't wait to watch Kansas go to a bowl game.
They need one more win. And
Kansas
they got Oklahoma next weekend.
Kansas to the Sugar Bowl. Let's make it happen. Why not? Hey, this has been the Crowded Booth. We've been talking Week 6 recap. Make sure to subscribe, like the video. It helps in the algorithm. And if you don't like us, just dislike the video. That's okay because that also helps us in the algorithm as well. We'll talk to you next time here on the Crowded Booth. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded crowded booth with Bryce Koon.